Welcome to episode 75 of the Relationship Marketing Podcast with Cody B. Today we have a returning guest, Meredith Elliot Powell. Meredith Elliot Powell was voted one of the top 15 business growth experts to watch by Currency Fair, a top sales expert to follow by LinkedIn, and one of the top 41 motivational sales speakers. Meredith Elliot Powell is an award-winning author, keynote speaker, and business strategist. Meredith worked her way up from entry-level to earn her position in the C-suite. She's a master certified strategist, executive coach, and certified speaking professional, a designation held by less than 12% of professional speakers. Meredith is the author of 6 books, including Winning in the Trust and Value Economy, a finalist in the USA Best Book Awards, and her latest, Own It, Redefining Responsibility, Stories of Power, Freedom, and Purpose, which was named Top 50 Sales Book for 2018. In this book, she shares how to build cultures that inspire ownership at every level to create profits at every turn. Her 7th book, The Best Sales Book Ever, Cut the Excuses and Send Sales Through the Roof, with Hall of Fame speaker Connie Podesta, is due out at the end of April. Her area of expertise is in helping audiences and listeners understand the strategies and skills needed to succeed in today's economy. Her latest book, Own It, Redefining Responsibility, goes into detail about how the changes in this economy have created a new customer and new employee, and why that calls for a new approach to leadership at every level. In addition, she helps employees understand specifically what they need to do to ensure they become the employee that companies strive to keep. She is passionate about the term responsibility and the impact it has when companies and employees embrace it and actually integrate it into their culture. Meredith is passionate about helping her audiences attract more business, retain top talent, and turn uncertainty competitive advantage. And now, Cody B.
Hello, everybody. This is Cody Bateman. Welcome to a brand new version of our Relationship Marketing Podcast. Super excited, like I always am, for the guest that we have on today. She's a repeat. We got a repeat today. Miss Meredith Elliot Powell. Why don't you come on right now? How are you doing there?
I am good. I'm excited to be here and honored to be a repeat. Always love talking to you, Cody.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're a delight to listen to and to learn from. And you know, you were a presenter at our first Relationship Marketing Grand Summit and nailed it out of the park. And we're excited to have you back this year in September. So we're super excited about that. And you've been featured on the podcast once before. This is our second round, and it's coming by demand. A lot of people saying, you got to get that Meredith back on there. So here we are. Here we are. So you've been doing some pretty exciting things. Well, you're always doing exciting things. Like you've always, it's like you're always like changing up, and you're like in front of the deal, 6 or 7 books now. Well,
Yeah.
first of all, where do you, my gosh, how do you have the energy and the time to accomplish what you're doing? Like that's the first question.
Well, you know, I think I'm probably like you and a lot of people listening to the podcast. I accomplish a lot because I'm really passionate about what I'm doing. And a couple of years ago, I became very obsessed with the word uncertainty and how we react to it. And it's just turned out to be the word that everybody is struggling to deal with right now. So I think I'm super energized and super charged because I think I've got some good strategies to kind of help people get through this uncertain marketplace. So I do believe that energy and excitement and the ability to accomplish a lot comes out of doing what we love, right?
Absolutely. So that is a big theme I've noticed on your websites.
Yeah.
On your Facebook page. I noticed 2 words a lot. I noticed 2 words a lot in all your stuff. Uncertainty is definitely a word that you use a lot, and thriving is a word you use a lot.
Yeah.
So talk to us about those 2 words. I mean, thriving in uncertainty.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit, how do we do that? How do we thrive in uncertain times?
Well, you know, it's funny, like the way that I got talking about both of those words is literally like I just said a minute ago. A couple of years ago, I became obsessed with the word uncertainty. I mean, think about this. It's 2018, 2019. I would go in and I'd talk to business owners or leaders in organizations, and I'd say, how is business? And people would typically say, business is good. business is great. We're probably about to have our best year on record. But oh, this uncertainty, as if everybody was waiting for uncertainty to drop, stop them dead in their tracks. Uncertainty had to be a negative. And, it just got me thinking. I thought, what if we flip the script on that? I mean, isn't a success about taking what others think are an obstacle and turning it into an opportunity? And so I set out on this mission to identify organizations that have done that. I identified 9 companies that have been around since the late 1700s, early 1800s. They're still thriving in business today. So think about that, Cody. That means that they've come through world wars, economic depression, and oh yes, through a pandemic. Yeah. And I just put it all together for a formula for thriving in uncertainty.
Wow. I'd like to explore that some more. I think that would be powerful. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about your business. So obviously you've become an expert at helping your clients and whatnot to navigate their way through uncertainty. I mean, what are the uncertainties in your particular business?
Well, I think that we become an expert by being, unfortunately, the person who goes down the path first. So picture this. Here I am, February 29th, and I have just finished 2 of the best months of my career. I am looking at 2020 to be my best year on record. And little did I know, basically 9 days later, my entire schedule, all my revenue, would completely evaporate in a week. And then add to that, my business model became irrelevant, because my business model is to get on planes, travel around the world, get on stages, and actually physically engage with thousands of people. I mean, everything about my business model didn't work. So, I believe that I became an expert out of necessity, because in 30 days, I had to figure out what I was going to do. And believe me, I started with delivering pizzas for Domino's and selling Mary Kay, but I had to turn that back into a business model that would work. And as you and I have discussed, I basically went virtual.
So I want to talk about that virtual in a minute, but I just kind of want to go back. I think all of us listening can relate to when the pandemic hit and when the quarantining and stuff kind of started taking place. I remember how shocked I was, because literally, I was just, you know how we get, we're so laser focused going forward. I had a bunch of events planned throughout the year, and some of them big. And one of my show producers called me up. This was the first part of March. My show producer called me up and said, "Hey, what is your strategy for these live events coming up? What are you planning to do?" And literally I was like, "What are you talking about?" "Well, we got this thing going on, you might be needing to cancel these events." I'm like I was shocked. I was like, "What?" And literally within days, it wasn't 2 or 3 days later, things had advanced so quickly that we were facing this monumental shift that we had to make. So it was a big deal. And so when I go on your websites and I see thriving under uncertainty or thriving with uncertainty, I thought about that day, because it was like we had to scramble, just like you did. You had to scramble. And tell you what, boy, it's crazy. But I think you hit it on the head when we first started the interviews. You talked about the word passion.
Yeah.
If you're passionate about what you do, then things just, you passionate, this is probably not a word, but you passionate. I was going to say you passionate your way through it.
If it's not a word, it should be a word. I like it.
Right. Yeah. So let's talk about virtual, because you've been doing virtual stuff for a long time, right? You're an expert at it. You've been doing it since 2004. So you had to have been somewhat ready for the pandemic, because you were already in a virtual doing virtual things, right?
Yeah, I started doing virtual. I mean, back when I started my business in 2004, but I don't know. I feel like since March 9th, I have gotten an MBA and a PhD in how to do virtual. Even though that I had done them, we've had such a strong learning curve. I always did virtual before. I'd do a little at my desk, or maybe I'd go into a studio. I've done a lot of courses for LinkedIn Learning, as well as my own courses in a studio. But now here I am with a studio in my home. I did 2 virtual keynotes earlier today. I can set up all the technology. I have everything going. Had to really learn to adapt presentations so that they were better virtual, more more engaging. For people. So it's really been a whole different world. But I got to tell you, I certainly miss connecting with people, as I think most of us do. There's a lot to be said for virtual. I mean, one of the biggest shifts for me is how much I'm working all over the world. It is so much of my work is in Europe right now, a lot's in Asia, that all it would have limited me due to planes and travel times and things like that. So it's really opened up new markets.
You have access to a lot more people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and more cost efficient for sure.
Yeah.
I'm surprised too, because there's even presentation advantages, which kind of shocked me a little bit, because we got into virtual stuff. We did a full day Promptings Academy, which is an interactive training day. We've always done live. And we did a 7-hour virtual live event for 7 hours. How do I've never done it before. I've never done a 1-hour one before. And so I got to pull off this 7-hour thing. And again, passion's what kind of carried you through, but we learned some valuable things really quick about how to hold. We had 564 people on.
Wow.
And we had 564 people on in the 7th hour. So we were able to hold them.
Yeah.
And you learn some things. But what I noticed is that you have some opportunities, even though when you're in a live event, you feel the energy of the audience, and sometimes you're able to connect one-on-one with somebody, eye to eye, whatever. You don't get that in a virtual event, but what you do get is you get some opportunity to really kind of deep dive on a topic a little bit more than you would live, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I really think I really do think that our content and our message is more important than ever now. I love that you said, you knew how many you had at the beginning of 7 and at the end of 7, because I watch that too. I mean, it tells me how compelling, really how compelling the message is. And I'm sure you found this as well, is that we are starved for connection as a society. Yeah, so if you can find ways in your presentation to allow people to connect with you as well as to connect with others, people are so grateful, because this pandemic took a lot away. I mean, it took our ability to really socialize with our extended family, with our friends, and even the socialization we get at work. And that's why I think what we do right now is so important. I always like to say that I ran to the sound of the gunfire rather than ran away from it, because I knew I technically wasn't an essential worker, but I don't care. I felt like what I was doing was so important to both give people connection as well as a powerful message right now.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you do such a great job at it. It's amazing. And again, going back to that, part of what we did in the full day event is we had, I have interaction that we do throughout the day. Yeah. And so there's chances to do interaction where we're doing some personal coaching with people's exercises they're involved with. And so that was an area that surprised me a little bit, because in the live event, and like you, after doing hundreds of these events, you get effective at stuff the longer you sit in the saddle. And if you sit in the saddle for a long time, I call it seat time, you get pretty good at stuff. And so we had the live stuff down. Like we were able to go, and when the interaction started, I was able to pick people out of the audience, to have the interaction, do the personal coaching. But what was interesting is in the live event, there's that going on plus stuff going on around you. like an interruption over here or something over there. So you're trying to stay focused on the one person, but then you have to kind of like sometimes shift off to what's going on around them.
Yeah.
But in the virtual event, I didn't have that. So when we got to interactive and we're able to have people raise their hands on Zoom and you click on it and they come full screen, I was literally able to, there was no interruption. It was me and them. And I was literally able to make eye contact, just like I'm doing with you now.
Yeah.
I felt the eye contact, I felt the connection, and we were able to really go to a deeper level. So I guess part of the reason I bring all that up is how, like, do you train people on how to do the interactive type of stuff? I mean, walk us through a little bit of that.
Yeah.
I know you do a lot of interaction too.
Yeah, I think that it's, the first thing, whenever I'm helping people put together a virtual presentation or I'm talking to the meeting planner, and I've noticed we've had to guide a lot of, this is new for everybody, right? Yeah. And it's kind of very few people are really seasoned at it. So anytime I'm in a situation doing a virtual event, you're kind of helping the people that are planning it. And number one is, I always say that message is important. You got to make sure that it's not something people can Google, because they are sitting on a screen. So that's got to be, that's got to really be compelling. And then there's the basic stuff. There is the looking in the, there is the looking in the camera. There's the calling people by name. There's the doing the research. But beyond that, it's making sure that you can use the tools and the strategies to pull people into your event. Like if I'm doing a webinar, I might quote unquote pull somebody up on stage with me. If I'm doing more of a meeting style, I'll definitely have the breakout rooms and give people that opportunity to interact in that. Asking questions and keeping that chat room going and moving and paying attention to that. A lot of times if I'm in a smaller group, I'll rename people as I get to know them and I'll give them nicknames and things like that. But people need to feel a part of it. I'll tell you, one of the most eye-opening things I had right at the beginning of this pandemic, it was early April, I was doing a presentation and I broke people into rooms and I gave them, 7-8 minutes to kind of go in there and do their thing. And I got ready to pull them back. And one of the men said to me, so could you leave us here just 3 minutes longer? I haven't seen my coworkers in a month. And it really struck me as to, wow, they're really showing up as much to hear what I've got to say and do, as much as they want to have a cup of coffee with the people that they work with and the people that they're talking to. So I think as presenters, we've got to really be conscious of everything that's going on. When I speak from the stage, they say to pull people in every 14 to 15 minutes. And with virtual, I'm trying to pull them in every 6 to 7. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I break a group, but I'm throwing a question out there. I'm asking them, can you relate to this? So that they're pulled in and they're part of that conversation.
Yeah, that's really good advice. A lot of our listeners do. They're in the same boat. They're running small businesses and they're turning everything to Zoom. And a lot of times they'll have 5 or 6 people on a Zoom call and they're trying to learn, just like we are, ways to keep people engaged and those kinds of things. So this is really good advice. It's great for our listener base. So you used to travel around, you will again.
Yeah.
Now you're traveling virtually all over the world and you're consulting with a lot of different types of businesses, salespeople, C-level people, business owners. What are some of the biggest challenges that companies are facing right now?
Yeah, so I did a couple presentations today for small business owners. Friday, I was on with corporate executives of very large corporations. But I got to tell you, I feel like a lot of the challenges people are facing are the same. And number one is, I find that people fall into one of two camps. Either they're stuck, they're really not sure what to do and they can't get off dead center, or they're grasping at straws and doing so much they're inefficient, they're not productive. And so I wrap that all together by saying, you know, the first thing that you've got to understand is that if you are still implementing the strategies that you were using in January, February, or early March, if you're still running off that business plan, even if you're successful, you're working far harder than you have to. Is that everything about the marketplace has shifted and changed. So how we become successful in the marketplace has got to shift and change with it. And so that's really the first shift I have to make with people, is to get them understand that we've got to change what I call the positive point. We've got to change the vision of where you're going to land a year from now, so we're focusing on the right thing.
So where do people go to be educated on all that? Things change, things shift, things are moving fast. How do people stay in front of it?
Yeah, there's a tool that I use. It's called a Skeptic. And I say you've got to condition yourself for change. And this is change, not like you've ever been prepared for change before. You can't wait in this environment for change to show up. You have to be a step ahead of the change. The only way that you're going to be able to create a positive future is to predict that future. And so, Cody, it's a tool I use called a Skeptic. And I tell my clients, I want you to take 30 minutes every month. 30 minutes. If you're a small business, I want you to get together with your peers. If you're a larger company, I want you to get together with your team. I don't care who you talk to. I just need you brainstorming with other people. And the tool is as simple as this: society, competition, economics, politics, technology, industry, and customers. And spend 30 minutes brainstorming what you see happening in those particular areas. That's going to do a couple of things. Number one is it's going to get you focused on what's happening outside of your business. And no matter the size of your business, the majority of things that are going to impact your ability to be successful, they're outside of your business. They're outside of your control. If you see those coming, you can prepare for them. You can align your resources and align your team and actually get ahead of your competition. If you wait until those changes happen, those changes are going to bury you. And so I say that change is like a muscle, and you need to build it and work it. The more you talk about change, the more comfortable you'll be with change. The more comfortable you are with change, the faster you'll change. And I'll just quickly add to that. I've got a client in the healthcare industry that we started doing this with his team 2 years ago. Do it every single month. Now, every single one of his employees was in a physical building. And so when the pandemic hit, they had to go remote like that. Mm-hmm. Well, even though that wasn't the change they were talking about, they were so good at change, they moved a full week and a half faster than their competition moved. Wow. And it gave them huge advantage. They're probably going to have their best year in a decade, but it's because they were conditioned for the changes that were coming.
So that's interesting. I wasn't planning on asking you this, but in response to what you just said, one of the things we noticed, we had to shift quickly too. I've got 70 plus employees that all went home and had to work from home. One of those departments is a full customer support team that takes calls all day, every day. So we had to set technologies up for them to be able to work from home.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of behind the scenes we had to do. Within days, we had them up and running. But here's what I've found interesting is that at least for the first 8 weeks, all of our departments ran at about 40 to 50% higher efficiency from home than they did at the office. Why is that? Like why? And I've heard other, some of my associates saying the same thing. So I didn't expect that. I thought we'd have challenges with that. It was actually a blessing. The efficiencies went way up.
Yeah. Well, part of it is we all had purpose, right? This is something really important for business owners to realize is the minute this pandemic hit, it gave us a cause. I mean, somebody like you is coming out and saying, I've got to send everybody home. This is going to be tough. This is going to be hard, but we've got to do it. And that sparks an intrinsic motivation. The second is people want to hold on to their jobs. All of a sudden, there's a little fear in the marketplace, right? Like, we could be furloughed, we could be laid off. What if the company doesn't do well? I've got to give it my all. Yeah. And so the trick is, it didn't surprise me that a lot of efficiency went up. The trick is, can you keep that efficiency going long term? Because now what we're starting to feel is, I've got a client in the events business who she's got all young women working for her, home with their children. And they're like, couldn't we please come back? If I have to spend 2 more weeks at home full time with my children, I'm going to go insane. So it's balancing that. But what happened was purpose. I mean, that's the power of purpose, right? A cause, something to get behind. And we don't have to have COVID to have purpose, but that's what, it just sparked that piece. And people are like, we're all like in this, we're going to help each other. And we as leaders got to keep that energy going.
So how do you, like you say, how do you keep the purpose? Because here we are, like, I don't know, 10, 11, 12 weeks in it now, and we're noticing, I mean, the efficiencies are still good, but it's becoming more challenging. In fact, it's kind of funny. My wife and I, we went to Starbucks a couple of weeks ago, and it was like a weekday, like a Wednesday at 11:10 in the morning, just after 11 o'clock in the morning. And we go to Starbucks, and I'm not kidding you, there's a line of 35 cars at the Starbucks. And my wife, Jody, says, where are these cars coming? It's 11 o'clock in the morning. Where are all these cars coming from? I said, I'll tell you where they're coming from. It just hit me like a ton of bricks. Half of these cars are supposed to be home at work right now. But but now they're out free. And so it's like, as the pandemic or the quarantining started to lift a bit, people felt a little bit more freedom. So bam, out they would go. How do you keep that purpose? How do you keep that engagement?
Yeah. Number one is, you as a business owner, you have really got to define the purpose for your company. What is it that you're trying to accomplish? If people are working in a job description, then they're never going to give you everything they've got. The moment that they're working for a cause, then they're working at a higher level. And a cause doesn't have to be that we're feeding the homeless or saving children. A cause can be as much as, we really want to make a difference in our community. We want to be the organization that was here, that was able to help, and that came through and survived this pandemic. So that's number one. You got to give people purpose. The second is, we as business owners are not clear enough on expectations with employees. I tell every client that I've got, you need to think about, where do you want to be when this pandemic is over? Where do you see the business a year from now? And now think about your employees, and what are the top 5 things you need from them in order to achieve that purpose, and then articulate that to them. 67% of and discipline issues with employees don't happen because employees don't want to do a good job. They happen because what I think is expected of me and what you want me to do, there's a disconnect. So I don't want you to write people a 20-page job description. I just want you to say, look, people, if we're going to hit our goals next year, I need everybody to come to work on time. I need everybody to pull together and help each other out. So if your job is done, I need you to work with other people. I need us to blow 10% past our sales goals, whatever those are. But the overarching purpose has got to be bigger. Like we want to be the company that truly makes a difference in our customers' lives, whatever that is. But you as a leader cannot talk about it enough. You should start every meeting with it. You should end every meeting with it. And you have ingrained the purpose. If I walked into your building and I asked any employee what their job was, and their purpose rolls off their tongue, not their job description.
It's good stuff. Really, really good stuff. We are listening to the one and only Meredith Elliot Powell, best-selling author of 5 or 6 books now on the subject of sales and leadership. One of the foregoing thought leaders in our world today, voted one of the top 15 business growth experts. Heck, if I start speaking accolades, we'll be here all day long. But I'm just so impressed You know, the thing I like about you, Meredith, is you're the real deal. It's like you get so many speakers and trainers that it's kind of a dog and pony show. It's all about them and how great they look and how great they articulate and stuff. And I feel a sense of genuineness about you. You really want to serve people. You want to help people, and I think we can talk all your accomplishments, but to me, your biggest accomplishment is your desire to truly help people. You would do this for free, wouldn't you?
In a second. And honestly, that's the biggest compliment you could pay me. But thank you. Yeah, I feel a real passion to fall in the hole first and figure out how to get out, and then try to help other people. Lucky for my clients, I fall in quite a few holes.
Yeah, tell me about it. So your latest book, Thrive: Turning Uncertainty into Competitive Advantage. How long has that book been out?
Well, it is actually coming out in September. It just went to the editor just last month. So we are in the final pieces of it, and it will be hot on the press just in time for the Grand Summit this year.
Oh, that's great. Speaking of,
yeah.
With us at the Relationship Marketing Grand Summit, September 7th and 8th. This will be a virtual event. Speaking of virtual events, we have 2 full days, virtual events, 20 plus speakers. We're going to do some really cool things, and I may speak with you offline a little bit, utilize some of your expertise, but we pulled off a 7-hour event. Now we got to pull off a 2-day event and with a lot of different speakers and coordination and keep people engaged. We're going to do some unique things. I mean, I just announced last week that in between speakers, we'll be doing workshops. So we have a speaker, and then we'll have a workshop. Hopefully, most cases, workshop would be related to the speech just given, and gives people an opportunity to stay engaged and go on breaks when they need to. But so we're excited. I mean, we're real excited about that. Again, September 7th and 8th. I hope I got those dates right. It's in September, but just go on the website and check it out. Relationship Marketing Grand Summit. This will be our second event. We had the first one last year, and Meredith, you were amazing there. Looking forward to having you back.
Let's go back to this book. Be back.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Let's go back to the book, and the book will be there for the event, which I'm excited for. So talk to us a little bit about this. Again, the word thrive and the word uncertainty, it's in the headline of the book.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about the book.
Okay, so I'm really excited about the book, because I really believe it's the definitive guide to thrive in an uncertain marketplace, whatever the uncertainty is. We just happen to be in the middle of a pandemic. But as I kind of said at the beginning, I researched 9 organizations that have been around since the late 1700s, early 1800s. And basically the way I wrote the book is, the first part of the book is take a breath. We've been here before. One of the most important ways to learn about how to grow a business is to learn from history, because there are very few challenges we face that our ancestors have not faced before us. The second part of the book is the story of these companies and a lesson I learned from each of them. And then the last section of the book is the methodology, exactly what you need to do. Because I wanted people to not only have a story, because I love a story, but also I wanted them to finish the book, close the chapter, and say, great, I know exactly what to do now. No questions left on the table.
Boy, I'm excited. I'm super excited to get a copy of that. Also, you can go to meridithelliottpowell.com. That's MERIDITHELLIOTT Powell, POWELL, meridithelliottpowell.com. Spent some time on your website today. It's awesome. It's really cool. A lot of neat little videos and whatnot. Very well put together. So our listeners, I encourage you to jump on there and just browse around a little bit and learn from that. And just appreciate all that you're doing out there, Meredith. Keep up the great work. I always like to close our meetings by, it's free mic time now. I'm not asking any more questions.
Okay.
I'm just giving you the floor. So you're not limited anymore by what I want to talk about. What do our listeners need to hear from Meredith?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that they need to hear is the fact that one of the most important strategies that I share with people to thrive in an uncertain marketplace is to secure your base. And what I mean by that is in an uncertain marketplace, we can be so desperate for business. We spend so much of our time finding new business. And I want you to focus on your existing customers for a couple of reasons. And I tell my clients to go back 4 and 5 years and just talk to your customers. One, they'll stay loyal, but the second is they'll give you an unbelievable gift. And the gift they will give you is they'll tell you their challenges and their problems, and that will tell you how to redesign your products and services so they're more relevant. Cody, you mentioned my website. At the top of my website is a purple bar that says Emerge Successful. And if you click on that, it's full of free tools and resources to emerge successful. The way I developed those free tools and resources is I listened to my customers. It's the challenges that people are having today, and I responded. That has turned into paid opportunities for me. So I leave the resources there for people to take advantage of. They're free and they're open, but your customers will do the same for you. Your products and services have to change. And the worst thing you can do is decide on your own. Listen to what your customers say, their language, their challenges. That's going to be your path forward.
Excellent advice. Really good stuff. I do have a question on that.
Sure.
Sometimes we have companies, and I've certainly run some businesses where we're kind of the pioneers. We kind of have created new movements, new technologies, new things. And sometimes I find that there's a important balancing act between listening to your customers and adapting to their needs versus leading out with a new possibility. I mean, think of Henry Ford. Okay.
Yeah.
If he would have listened to everybody, we wouldn't have cars today.
Right.
Think of Steve Jobs. If he would have listened to everybody, we'd still have PCs today that we're trying to work with. So there's a balance between taking in that information and adapting and adjusting and leading out with your vision.
Yeah.
So what's your advice on that balance?
I think the balance is far skewed to leading out with your vision. I think rarely do customers know what they want because they don't understand the possibilities. However, I would even say when Henry Ford sold the automobile, he didn't sell an automobile. He solved a problem with an automobile. And what you need to listen to your customers for is the problem, so that the solution that you have solves the problem. What we do too often with vision, where there's a disconnect, is we're trying to sell the product. People don't care what the product is as long as it solves their problem. And I want you to talk to customers because we can't intimately know what their problems are until we have that conversation.
Really good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So you've all heard it. Meredith Elliot Powell. Check out her website. Let me share with you some of her other books. Winning in the Trust and Value Economy. Own It. I love that. And you spent a lot of time on the owning it thing, taking responsibility. So that's a great book. Own It, Redefining Responsibility. There's Stories of Power, Freedom, and Purpose. List goes on and on. You could get that information on our website. Books available on Amazon.com. So look, you're up at your cabin. Go have some fun, would you?
I am planning on it. Cody, I always thank you so much. I love being on this show, love talking with you, and I am really excited and honored to be back at the Relationship Grand Summit this year.
Well, we're excited and honored to have you with us, and we're going to have a lot of fun. So thanks again, and y'all have a great time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. There you have it. That's another super exciting episode. Keep staying tuned every single week. We're going to bring you more. So come on in and sharpen your saw. Remember, let's go out in this world of ours and be kind to people. Just be kind to people. Have a genuine feeling of wanting to connect with other human beings. Look them in the eye and be kind to people. That's what the world needs. Take care, everybody. We'll see you.
Bye.
Enjoyed this episode of the Relationship Marketing Podcast with Cody B, be sure to subscribe to the show and leave a review so that together we can get this message, The Power of Human Connection, out to the world. You can find Cody's new book, The Power of Human Connection, on Amazon or the Send Out Cards gift store.